Hello, my dear students. How are you all? I think you are hale and hearty by the grace of omnipotent Allah. However, this is Dawn Mohammad Imdad, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Milestone College, Uttara, Dhaka. Today, I have appeared before you with a very known topic, and it is narration or speech in your English second paper book, my dear students. I know you have already got much more information on this very topic from our seasoned teacher. Today, I will not go in for detail. Rather, I will give you some information that would be helpful to solve this question. My dear students, for a couple of days we are taking some revision classes. As such, my today's class is not an exception. My dear student, now come to the point and look at the screen and see what is in there. Dear students, we told you to collect Nabodut HSC Communicative English Special Model Test Papers. These books are designed with the revised syllabus and questions are set according to your need and the instruction of the board. My dear student, if you collect the book, I think you will be able to solve some model questions and be prepared for the examination coming ahead. And for a couple of days, we are basically practicing from this book some special items. And today's item is narration, and I will solve two narration from this book, that is Nabodut HSC Communicative English Special Model Test Papers, especially model number 96 and 105, my dear student. Let's see, dear student. Previously it was question number 7 and mark was 5. According to revised syllabus, now it is question number 5 and mark is same, that is 5, my dear student. Changing narration, that is from direct to indirect one, you have to consider the following things. First one, read the text carefully. That is, you have to read the text carefully to understand the content. Second one, find out the speaker. You have to find out the speaker, that is who is speaking. Then find out the person spoken to, that is to whom the speaker is speaking. You have to find out these also. Again, trace the mood of the sentences, that is if the whether the reported speech in assertive sentence or interrogative sentence or imperative sentence or optative sentence or exclamatory sentence, you have to find out. Last but not the least, consider the tenses and the time of action. So my beloved student, come to the point and look up page number 309, model question number 96. So this is basically the direct narration. "Oh my lord, please do not kill the child," said the woman. "Later have him." So dear student, I have got the speaker here. The woman is the speaker here. The king said, "Now everything is clear to me." Here the king is the listener or the person spoken to. Pointing to the woman, he said to the servant, "Give her the child. She is the mother of the child." So my dear student, this is the direct narration. So we will go for the indirect one of this direct narration. Now come to the point. So the first sentence one, or the speaker is saying, "Oh my lord, please do not kill the child," said the woman. "Later have him." So if we convert this direct speech into indirect one, it would be addressing the king as her lord. The woman emotionally requested him not to kill the child and told him that she might have him, that is she, that is the other woman, might have him, that is the child. Then come to the next one, my dear student. What is the next one? The king said, "Now everything is clear to me." So hearing this prayer of the woman, we can write it or not, because these does not have any effect on these indirect speech. We can start like, The king said that everything was clear to him. Now would be then. Right. Next, pointing to the woman, he said to the servant, "Give her the child. She is the mother of the child." So, pointing to the woman, he ordered the servant to give her the child because she was the mother of the child. As the sentence belongs to imperative mode, so we have used to as a linker. And the last portion was in the present indefinite tense. That's why we have used past indefinite tense in indirect one. My dear student, I think you have understood the indirect speech of the direct narration that I have already shown you. My dear student, before going to the next question to solve, I want to tell you that always consider if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the reported speech would be changed into correspondingly, right? If the reporting verb is in the past tense and reported speech in the present indefinite, so in indirect speech it would be past indefinite, then past indefinite would be past perfect, then past continuous would be past perfect continuous, then present continuous would be past continuous, then present perfect would be past perfect, and then present perfect continuous would be past perfect continuous. This way you have to change. At the same time, if the reporting verb is in the present tense, so there will be no change in reported speech in an indirect narration excepting person and as well as linker and time and place, my dear student. So come to the point, and we wanna do second exercise, that is narration 2. So look at the screen. So this is the second narration we are practicing, my dear student. So look up your page number 323, model question number 105. So the direct speech is, the boy said, "I have to go to supper now. I can come again tomorrow." So the speaker is here, the boy. I said, "I will pay you now for what you have done." So here the person spoken to or the listener is I. I said, "I pay you now for what you have done," thinking I should probably have to insist on an older boy. 10 cents an hour, anything else is alright. So this is the direct speech, my dear student. Now I am gonna convert it into indirect one. In this time, you guess what would be the indirect speech. So look at the indirect one. The direct narration was, the boy said, "I have to go to supper now. I can come again tomorrow." So the boy told me that he had to go to supper, now would be then, and added that he would come again. Tomorrow would be the next day or the following day. Next portion, my dear student. I said, "I will pay you now for what you have done," thinking I should probably have to insist on an older boy. So we have to write the extended portion first, then we will go for the speech. So thinking I should probably have to insist on an older boy, I told him that I would pay then, now would be then, for what he had done. As the direct speech was in present perfect, so in indirect speech it would be past perfect. That's why we have written what he had done. Next one, 10 cents an hour. So I asked him whether 10 cents an hour would do. As it is a question and without subject and verb, only extension part is given in direct speech. So in an indirect speech we have to mention the subject as well as the verb. That's why we have written whether 10 cents an hour would do. Next one, anything else is alright. This is the speech of the boy. So finally we can say the boy replied that anything was alright. As the last portion is in the present indefinite tense, so it would be past indefinite tense according to the rule of the direct narration to the indirect one. So my dear student, I think you have understood how to write direct narration to, or how to convert a direct narration into indirect one. Dear students, while answering two narrations, we have learned some new things and that should be considered. First of all, it is important to note that conversion of vocatives into addressing as is now treated as hackneyed English, that is obsolete or cumbrous form. It should be avoided, but it should be used only when there is no other way to express vocatives. That is, when you are unable to express the vocatives, you can use addressing as. Otherwise, you have to avoid it using some expression instead of addressing as. So consider two examples in the next screen. My dear students, let's consider two examples. First one, the teacher said, "Keep quiet, my dear boys." Here we can easily avoid addressing the student as his dear boys. Rather, we can write here affectionately, so we can convert it into indirect narration in this way, like the teacher affectionately asked the boys to keep quiet. Consider example number 2. Here, "Jim darling," cried Della, "don't look at me that way." So here we see we cannot avoid using addressing, because without this the indirect narration would be totally bare and totally ungrammatical. So that's why we have to use addressing as. So addressing Jim as her darling, Della implored or requested him not to look at her that way. The second thing we have learned, if the reporting verb is placed in the middle of the sentence or at the end of it, while converting into indirect speech, it comes first. And for this statement, let's consider two examples. "Will you come to my home tomorrow?" I asked the boy. Here we see the reporting verb is placed at the end of the statement, that is at the end of the reported space. So in indirect one, we have to use the reporting verb in the first portion. That is, we can say, I asked the boy if he would come to my home the next day, and tomorrow would be next day. Look at the sentence. "You look a little bit like my mother," Jerry said to the authoress, "especially in the dark by the fire." Here we have seen that the reporting verb is placed in between two sentences. So in order to convert it into indirect one, we have to place the reporting verb from the very beginning of the sentence. That's why we can write, Jerry told the authoress that she looked a little bit like his mother, and the added portion would be written here, especially in the dark by the fire. This way we can take, or we can bring the reporting verb in the beginning of an indirect narration. Look at the following statement. What you see there? If any phrase or clause is added with a reporting verb, you have to write that particular phrase or clause at the beginning of the indirect space. So my dear student, I repeat, if any phrase or clause is added with a reporting verb, you have to write that particular phrase or clause at the beginning of the indirect space. Now we will consider the statement with an example. So are you brothers? Look at the example. Are you brothers? Asked the mistress of the house, turning to the dervishes. Here we see asked the mistress. After this, there are some words or phrases after this. So at first, if we want to convert it into indirect one, we have to bring the phrase first. Here, turning to the dervishes would be the first one. So we can write here, turning to the dervishes, The mistress of the house asked if or whether they were brothers. So, my dear students, no more today. I think you have understood what I have already told you, and we have successfully completed or solved two narration from Navadut test paper, my dear student. So, stay safe. Till then, Allah Hafiz.